You're listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently from Jen Du Plessis, America's Mortgage Mastery mentor with over 37 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. Jen has been mentoring loan officers and realtors for over 15 years and speaking on stages across the globe. So settle in and get ready as Jen and her guests share their experience, passion, and strategies to help you crack the top producer code to reach new heights in your business. And now, here's your host, Jen Du Plessis, Mortgage Mastery Mentor and head chick in charge of Kinetic Spark Consulting.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this episode. I am so excited today. Holley Mignosi is going to be speaking with us today and sharing something that is super, super important. And we've already talked off screen and offline here that I'm already self-conscious of every move I'm going to make in this YouTube video, right? So if you're listening and you're not seeing the YouTube, just know that my hands are not being shown because I'm trying very hard not to move them. Here's why. And here's why. Holley is a storytelling and hypnotic body language expert. She coaches people on stage. And wow, it's so important right now because we are all virtual. And that doesn't mean, so whether you're on stage or not, and most of you that are listening are not on stage, but you do teach classes, right? You teach classes, you talk to people in front of groups, and the way that your body language is and the stories that you tell are going to be what attract people to you. So now more important than ever is how do you show up on screen when we're in this virtual world that we're in now. So, and we continue to be, right? It gets more and more that we're having it. So Holley, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I am just so excited to learn so much about you.
Thank you so much, Jen. I'm really excited to be here as well and to share everything that I can with you and your audience so that we can really knock it out of the park when we're on a new stage, whether it's a virtual stage or we go back to the stage. And honestly, my perspective is that all of life is a stage.
Yeah, of course you would. Of course you would. I'm just, like I said, I'm really, really excited about this. And, I know that you coach people on this as well. And so we'll have some information about that at the end. And I know you have a free gift for everybody. But I just want to dig in. I want to talk about, and then I'm going to learn about you too, but I want to just dig into this whole adage of client attraction by having a story. One of the things that I say all the time is that if you're selling to everybody, you're selling to no one. Right? And yes, the only way to really shine a light on you is to come with a very clear message, maybe even a niche, right? But I know the story also has something to do with it. And in business, we tend, especially in mortgages and real estate, we tend to just stick to business, right? And we don't want to show that vulnerable side of us by showing the story, which is actually what you should be doing. So let's talk about that. I want to find out how you discovered it and, discovered that storytelling was where the key was going to be. And then some things that we can be doing to start formulating a story.
Yes, absolutely. Our personal story is one of the biggest tools that we have for connection to show our authority and to really stand out in a unique way. How are we different from our collaborators or competitors? You have a unique story. Nobody has your story. There are a lot of people that do what you do. Right. There are a lot of people that have your message even, but no one has your story. It is unique, and there is a specific framework to sharing a story in a way that is really captivating, and that's what I help experts do. Outline their story in a way and practice it even before sharing it so that when they share it, it's really captivating. They have that connection, and I have found that people don't care that much about your success until they have compassion for your failure. And there's a new type of leader emerging, one that really is authentic, one that is willing to do what I say, open the kimono, so to speak, let you in.
Yeah.
And say, this is who I am. This is what I've been through. This is my credibility, but this is also some of my failures and why I can be trusted with you, your dreams, your goals, and your desires.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, when we talk about the difference between abundance and scarcity, I mean, that's just a big thing that's used a lot, right? In sales and in business is, coming authentic, right? Becoming authentic, but coming with abundance versus scarcity. And for years and years and years, I used to think that abundance was that I got this. I got it. I don't need you. I have it. And it's actually a scarcity mode because it's not allowing myself to open up to be able to share a vulnerable part of my life, which really is where the abundance is. So can you help us understand, for someone who's listening and saying, look, I don't have a story. I don't want to tell that horrible story. So can I conjure a story? So how do we pull the story out of ourselves, a story that is in alignment with what we're trying to get across to a client? Because I've got 20 stories, but which one?
That's right.
So that might be a problem too, is which story. So do you have any suggestions there?
Absolutely. Now, some stories are more obvious as far as it's the obvious story to tell because it connects to what you're currently doing. For example, if you are a fitness trainer and you used to be 100 pounds overweight and you found a way to lose that weight and now you're helping other people do the same, that's an obvious connection. Right. But other stories, it's not quite as obvious. And I think the best way to share this is maybe to share my own story. Yes. And I would say, as you're listening to my story, notice where I'm being really vulnerable. Notice that I take you into a dark moment in my life and I really let you in. Notice that in that pit, it appears to have nothing to do with what I'm currently doing right now, but I will make a connection at the end. Yeah, so if I can share it, I can share a little bit about my story.
I was going to go there because you do have a beautiful story that needs to be heard.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. And it's had some ups and downs, some rocks and some rolls for sure. Yeah. And it really started when I was about 21, 22 years old. I was living my dream life. I was modeling and acting by day, emceeing fashion shows, but I was also in the fashion shows. And then at night, I worked at a local modeling and acting company, and I was helping aspiring models and actors break into the business and sharing the things that I'd learned. So I was doing what I loved, helping other people, which is making a difference, and I was making good money. I mean, that's what life is about. I was like, okay, I'm 21, I have arrived, I am successful. Yes. Okay, check those boxes. Yeah, that's right. And it was perfect until the day that everything changed. My boss, John, called all of us runway instructors into a room. And he announced that he was taking the company global. He wanted the company to be the #1 modeling and acting company in the world. And in order to do that, we had to look like celebrity models and actors. Now, let me just give you some context here. This is in my small hometown of Sacramento, which has, it's kind of like some of it's business and political, but there's also a very countryside where there's a lot of farmers and people who owned a lot of land and very down to earth. And we were not very celebrity-ish at that time. Right. And so I knew I was in trouble when he said, you need to look like a celebrity model. The second reason why I was in trouble is because celebrity models are 5'9", 5'10", 5'11". I'm only 5'8". Yeah. And they have a very specific physicality. There's a very specific body style. My body is not that thin, tall, willowy shape, but a little more what you call curvy or athletic. And he announced that each of us needed to step on the runway, and he wanted to measure us with a measuring tape.
Oh boy. He
proceeded to measure our bust, waist, and hips. And the first model he measured, and she was perfect, and I knew she would be. The second model stepped up, perfect height, perfect measured. He said, perfect. And I knew she would be. And then he called on me. Mm-hmm. And I got up, exhaled all the air I possibly could, squeezed my little tushy as far as I could to bring it all in and make myself as small as possible. My bust and my waist, those measurements were in line. But my hips, were not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 inches too big. Now, to you and I, 4 inches is this much. If you can imagine just kind of opening your thumb and your index, it's not very much.
Yeah.
But in that industry, it was everything. And he looked at my hips, pointed at me, turned to my coworkers, my friends, and said, if any of you have this problem, fix it or you're fired.
Yeah.
And I'm in my early 20s.
Right. And it wasn't
prior to that.
Yeah.
To him it was.
Right.
And I felt ashamed, embarrassed. I was the bad apple of the bunch. Everyone else was perfect but me.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been in a moment of deep pain, I did what most of us do. I decided I will never let this happen again, ever. And I went on this mad pursuit. Okay, I'm going to exercise and read all the fitness books and the nutrition books. And I'm going to do anything I can. And I bought every pill, powder, shake, guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back. But nothing worked because I was in my shape. That was it. And let me just tell you, Jen, I was a size 4.
Yeah.
I was small.
Yeah.
But then one day, someone gave me a little baggie of white powder.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, try this. And it was cocaine. And I thought, I got nothing else to lose. I've tried everything else. I'll try it. And it worked. Within just a few weeks, I lost inches. I was walking through the hallways with my new sleek physique, getting compliments from my coworkers and accolades from my boss. Hey, Holley, looking pretty good. And in fact, I even got a raise. I opened my own modeling and talent agency. I was making more money. I was making a bigger impact. And inside, though, I was dying. I knew I was a fraud. I knew if I ever quit, the weight would come back. And I was stuck in this cycle. So I would use and try to quit, use and try to quit, and go back and forth. And I vacillated back and forth for over 10 years. And it wasn't until I was in my early 30s. I met someone, we got married, and I had my first child. Now, let me just say that while I was pregnant, I was able to quit. And when she was little, I was clean. But then we had some problems in the marriage. And the old frenemy of cocaine came back into my life. And then I started using, and then he and I started using, and then it just all cycled back again. And she was about 3 at this time. And then I just used until it got really dangerous. And what happened was I came home from a night of being out, and she said, Mommy, Daddy, where were you? I want to play with you. We had a live-in nanny at the time. And gosh, she was just so cute, you know, the blonde eyes, the blonde hair, the blue eyes, and her little pink tutu. So he went off to bed, and I said, okay, I'll play with you. And after we played tea party for a little while, I got thirsty, went to the kitchen, got some water, came back, and she was gone. I thought, where'd she go? I checked her bedroom, and she wasn't in there. I checked her bathroom, and she wasn't in there. And you know that feeling you get when you just know something's wrong?
Yeah.
Like intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not right.
Heart drops. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And my bedroom door was open just a few inches. And I had that feeling something was not right. And I opened the door, and as I walk in, there on the floor is my blonde hair, blue-eyed ball of sunshine holding my drugs in her hands. And I was terrified.
Yeah.
My heart sank to my stomach. I rushed to her and I checked her mouth. She did not ingest anything. And I had gotten there just in the nick of time. And in that moment, Jen, it was like, I call it a divine download. I was suddenly seeing this vision of an alternate possibility. And I heard these questions. And the questions were, what if I didn't get there in time? What if she had consumed something? What if we had to call the police and they called CPS?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if Child Protection Services took her away from us because we were both using?
Right.
And then the worst question of all, what if she ended up in foster care, ended up like me?
Ooh.
And again, I was in that massive moment of pain. And once again, I made a decision. But this time I did a little better. Yeah. And I decided I need to quit. And I need to quit 3 things, and I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I need to quit my job, drugs, and my marriage. And I had no idea how, but I was going to do it. And I couldn't do it for me, but I could do it for her.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I decided, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I know that when we need a mindset shift, we need mentorship. I knew that was the basics of change. I knew that if I was going to do this, I didn't want anyone to know I didn't go to NA, Narcotics Anonymous, although I absolutely qualified. I was embarrassed. I thought nobody knew. So I decided I'm going to hire a personal trainer. And I hired Tom, the trainer. Jen, he was 6'2", Italian, dark hair, dark eyes, full of muscles.
Oh, boy.
And I didn't miss one single session. I was highly motivated to make all of my training sessions. But a miracle happened. For the first time, I got compliments for being strong, not skinny.
Yeah.
And for eating right, not for not eating at all. Mm-hmm. And everything started to shift. And he said to me, you know what, Holley, you're kind of good at this working out thing. I think you should be a personal trainer. And within 4 months of meeting each other, Tom, the trainer, and I opened up our very own fitness studio. And I trained the women and he trained the men. And it was an instant success. It was like, okay, I've made it. I've shifted my business.
Right.
I'm clean. I'm taking care of myself. And it literally, being in the health industry after using for 10 years literally saved my life. Now, my route of getting clean may not be right for everybody else, but it was my journey.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I really believe that our adversity is divinely designed to be our greatest victory. Mm-hmm. And inside, I was feeling really good because I was helping women achieve confidence in their physicality, which had been a huge pain point for me. But I still was missing something because I didn't want anyone to know that just 6 months prior, I was a druggie, quote unquote.
Yeah. So you
I was
were masked.
Embarrassed.
Yeah, constantly masked.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I wasn't the real me. So I was hiding my story. And it's like you're wearing armor when you hide your story. It's like you're carrying this wall that you don't want anyone to see or penetrate. And it's heavy. And it's a lot of work. And not only can people not get in, but nothing can get out. Your light can't shine. Mm-hmm. And so a little interesting thing happened. A little bit of my story came out with one of my clients. And I let her know what had happened. Although reluctantly, I was a little scared.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, I get it. You weren't addicted to food like I was, but you were addicted to drugs, and addiction's addiction. That's why you have compassion. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
When we share our story, people will make connections with their own story that we can't even possibly know are there.
Yeah.
And then I started to share it with somebody else, and then somebody else. And then my business took off to the next level because there was this new level of authenticity, connection, trust. And stories are much easier to replay to a friend or a coworker or someone you know. Facts and data, those things are a little harder. We're wired for story. So my clients started sharing my story with their friends, their neighbors, and they started bringing me more clients. And our business went to a whole nother level, all because I was sharing my story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And because so my connection, as everybody's listening in, my connection to your story is my addiction was work. Right. And my story is all about work, and everyone that's been on this podcast knows this story, so I won't go back into it. You got to listen to another podcast interview. But yeah, my addiction was work. That was my addiction. Yeah. I had my moment, where things had to change, and I had that divine download of this is not worth it. Right. And we talk about that on this podcast quite a bit. Part of that is, becoming a magnet for your clients, through storytelling. You actually become a magnet. You can attract your clients. And for me and my coaching, it's also for people to know that they don't have to chase clients all the time. They can attract clients, and that will save them time, so they don't have to work as much, because that's right.
Addiction,
right? My addiction.
That's right. Exactly.
So when we're talking about a mortgage or real estate, and we're heavy in business and heavy in transaction, right? The whole transaction of the thing, and we're talking finance and stuff. Does this, or is this, and I'm truly asking this, your story, is that too heavy for that kind of a situation?
How heavy? Really great question.
Heavy, you know?
Yes. And I think you got to use your own intuition and your own assessment of your connection and rapport with that client. But I think the story you can tell, and quite honestly should be telling, is why you're in that industry.
Yeah.
Why does it mean something to you to help people find a home? Is it because you grew up without one? Is it because you lived your life in an apartment? Is it because you lived your life in a home and your parents lost it? Is it because you remember your mom always saying, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, I wish I had a dream home, and you wanted to help her fulfill that? What is it that is so satisfying at a deep level for you that you help people find their dream home? And that is a huge opportunity to show your commitment and your heart.
Yeah.
Why is it important to you? So when I share my story about using drugs, it's also a story about why story is so important to me. That's really also, that's where the connection is. And I share that I wasn't my real self when I wasn't sharing who I really was. So I would encourage you to say, why?
Yeah. I didn't to interrupt you, but boy, oh boy,
no, go ahead.
Super, super key. Because then you're just being, the imposter syndrome, right? And you're just not being yourself, and you wonder why you can't get more sales. You wonder why you can't attract more clients, and other things. Is that you're walking around with that armor around you, as you say. And I have a client that I said, look, she had so much armor on her, it wasn't even funny. And I said, we need to let's just poke little holes. We're not going to take it off.
Yeah.
We're not going to scare you. We're just going to poke little holes in it.
Yeah.
And her story was, and I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I want to share this, like how it works, because her story was that her daughter has autism, and her daughter is 22 years old, and she does not want anybody to know. And her daughter still lives with her, and she doesn't want anybody to know because she doesn't want to be perceived as being weak. She used to work at ICE, right, for the government. And so she's this, ATF person, and, she's a gun-toting, chick who made raids and all that stuff, and she's a tough girl.
Strong. Yes, warrior energy. Yes, yes.
It's going to show this other side of me that's weak and whatever. No, it's not. It's the compassion that needs to shine through, right? And so we started poking little holes in it. And she just posted the other day that she's growing her team again. She's growing her team, and she was going to get out of the business when I was coaching her. And we were able to poke little holes to the point where she said, "This is just silly. Take it off."
That's right.
Made all the difference in the world. So I just wanted to hone in on that to say that it really is important in business to be vulnerable. And you can do it through a story rather than bragging.
That's right. Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about sharing a story is now you have these two bookends, or these two pillars. You have credibility and vulnerability. And why don't people share their story? They don't want to be vulnerable. But if all you're doing is sharing your success stories, it can come across as inauthentic. It can come across as being bragging, boasting. And of course, those are important, but we need that balance so that we can see, oh yeah, you are that human element. We want to do business with people that we know, we like, and we trust. Yeah. There's no faster way to get there.
Yeah.
But then by sharing a story that has some vulnerability. And let me just preface that a little bit with what story to tell and what not to. We don't share a story that hasn't been healed. So I say you don't reveal what hasn't been healed. Now, the first time you tell it, it might feel a little like, oh. So tell that story to a friend. Tell it to a coach. Tell it to a coworker. Build up the confidence and watch how people respond to you with this open arms, open heart. And you don't want to be sharing your vulnerable story while you're in tears and crying. And that may not be the best.
Although, let's be honest. I'm going to be honest about this. I don't know if you remember at New Media Summit, which is where we met, right? We met at New Media Summit. I've told that story, my story, hundreds of times on stage, and it really does affect me. And there are times, and that particular day, I only had a minute and a half. Each of us only had a minute and a half to tell a story, right? Like,
yeah, it's fast.
Right?
Yeah.
And I got choked up. And there are times when I'm on stage when that same exact story chokes me up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Being choked up and falling apart are two different things. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I had to take a breath.
Yes. And that is okay.
And I had to blot a couple of tears that were coming down.
Yes. Yeah, that's showing your humanity. That's showing your heart.
Yeah.
And that's okay. The point where it's not okay is where the audience feels like they need to take care of you.
Oh, yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, good. I just
showing, but showing that you're human, you have feelings.
Okay,
I recently shared something brand new. So there are many levels to my story. The story I just shared with you, I've shared hundreds of times on stage and podcasts. And the first time I shared it, it was very emotional for me. I mean, I was in tears, and I did it with friends who could hold space for me. And then each time it gets easier and easier. But there are two other levels to that story that are deeper and that still have shame around it. Yeah. One of them I'm just starting to share. I just shared a new level of that story for the first time on a podcast just last Friday. And I got a little emotional, and I think that's okay. It's okay because it's very tender. Yeah. And there's another level to that story that I'm not sharing because it hasn't been healed. So we need to have some discernment over what parts to share and what not to share. And I think as you begin to share your story, it will naturally unfold. And I would love to share the 5 phases of storytelling. Would that be okay to give a little structure for that?
I heard the rhythm, the pace. I heard a lot of different things in there. I've been exposed to this for a while, right? But I did hear a lot of that rhythm. But yes, please do that for our audience so that they can clearly develop their story.
Yeah, you can craft your own story. So this is something that I teach my clients. And as I share all these, be thinking, oh, where is that in her story? And where could that be in your story? Yeah. So the first step, there's 5 steps. You're going to want to write this down. The first step is the call. Yeah.
I'm writing.
Yes, she's got it. It's the call. You're being called to something. There's a call to step up or a call to adventure, a call. In my story, the call is actually when my boss tells me I'm fat, even though I'm a size 4. Mm-hmm. I'm being called to see the world in a different way and see myself in a different way, and to go on an adventure of trying to be something different for love and acceptance. The second step is the pit. The pit. Now, we're in my story. The pit is when I'm walking in and I find my daughter holding my drugs. It's a life-threatening situation, not just for me, but for my loved ones. So the pit is when you have that low moment. And it's a low moment when you don't know what the answer is. You don't have a clue. It's like, oh my gosh, something's happening in your external world or your internal world or both, where you feel very low. And in this moment, oftentimes there's no one there for you. The third step is the breakthrough moment. Now, for most of my clients and the stories that I've heard, for most experts, the pit and the breakthrough moment can be side by side, just moments from each other. Yes. But sometimes it goes like this. Sometimes there's a pit and a little breakthrough, but another pit. And a breakthrough and another pit. Sometimes it can do this. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. And in my breakthrough moment, there's 2. One is when I decide to change my life. Mm-hmm. And I don't expect my husband to change. It's me. I got to change. It's those 3 things that I changed. No drugs, leave my marriage, quit my job. And that's a huge, huge breakthrough moment because I'm leaning into faith and trust. It's not fake it till you make it. It's faith it till you make it.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is when someone comes on your journey to support you and help you in that breakthrough. For me, it was Tom the trainer. For you, it might be a coach, could be a client, could be someone you reach out to, and they support you and give you new insights into how to handle this thing that you don't know how to do.
Yep.
The fourth step is what did you do to climb out of that pit? And I very much see it like a roller coaster. You know, you kind of come out of the roller coaster, you go down, and then the first step is you're coming back up a little bit. And I call this your high value content. What did you do to get out of the pit? Here's where you share your lessons and your learnings with the audience. And I typically recommend that there's no more than 3. Because it becomes 1, 2, 3 too many. What are the steps that you did to get out of that situation? And I see it, I imagine it as I'm in the pit, someone's throwing me a rope, how do I climb out?
Yeah.
And then the final.
Whatever you did. Yeah.
That's right. What were the steps?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The 5th step is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
So pinnacle means the top. It's victory. You've gone from the pit to the pinnacle. You're on top of the world. Now in my story, I've quit drugs. I'm healthy. I feel good about my body. I'm helping other women feel good about their body. I'm healing myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and I'm a healthy mom. I'm someone that can really be there for my daughter. Yes. But there's still a part where I feel like I'm not sharing my whole story. So in my pinnacle part, I go searching for gurus to help me. How do I craft my story? I actually feel like I'm meant to go out and take stages to teach about health and fitness. And as I start learning from the best storytellers in the business about storytelling, I find that I have a new love. I'm falling in love with experts, entrepreneurs. People have these incredible stories. I mean, I have heard if you've heard the stories I've heard, you would feel as though each and every person is a superhero.
Yeah.
My clients are when you hear those stories, I have clients that have died and come back.
Yeah.
Been told they have a terminal illness, healed themselves, gone through tremendous trauma, and just had the strength to keep persevering. I mean, incredible stories. And I fell in love with experts and entrepreneurs. And that's when I pivoted away from health and fitness and said, I think I'm meant to help experts and entrepreneurs craft their story. And if you would have told me when I was in my pit, girl, you're going to be out there, you're going to be telling millions about this, I would have said, you're crazy.
Right.
There is no way I want anyone to know that I ever did drugs, especially as a mom. I was so ashamed. So ashamed.
Yeah.
But when you share those 5,
your new call, right? Because that's what you just said, is you just realize now I have a new calling, a new adventure that I'm going to go on. And so you're going through the process again for the deeper. What is the movie? What is the Deception? Is it Deception where they go 5 levels deep in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of like your own deception. It's like I'm at the apex, but wow, there's a deeper story here. So now I've got another calling. I'm going to go deeper. And, you know, we don't know how many levels everyone would go, but just be aware of that. Is it that first breakthrough might not be your last.
That's right. That's right. And it's really important to show the audience, like you had asked me a great question, which is this too heavy for the real estate industry? Is this too heavy to tell a story like that? Yeah. And the key is this, is as low as you take them in the pit, you want to take them twice as high in the pinnacle. We all want to get to the end of the story where it's victory, they fall in love, they persevere, the hero saves the day, the shero saves the day. So you want to just bring your audience up. You never let them stay in that low area too long. And you don't spend too much time talking about that pit. It won't feel too heavy if you do that. Those are my best storytelling techniques.
And you're right, because there are times when I'm talking about my pit on stage, and depending on what I'm receiving from people or my timeline, right, I'll kind of hang in there a little bit, make it a little more not poignant, but just kind of, I don't want to say I'm in the pit and I dig in, but I'm going to dig in.
You do. Yeah, you dig in. You do.
Dig in a little bit, don't superficially skim across it.
That's right.
Pretend like it really didn't hurt, kind of settle in there a little bit to really help people understand my true pain.
That's right.
Move up to the other. And so what you're saying is, decide what the level of that pit will be for whoever you're talking about, as it relates.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And, you bring up a really good point about, digging in and letting them feel my pain. There's something that we have in our brain called a mirror neuron. And mirror neurons are part of our brain that scientists have found when we are watching someone do an activity or feel an emotion, our mirror neurons are connecting with theirs as if what they're doing, we're doing it too. So if you're on stage or a virtual stage sharing your story and you gloss over it as if it's no big deal, your audience is going to feel it's no big deal.
Yeah. Yep. And that
it's really important.
You explained it better than I did.
No, you're absolutely right. And I wanted to bring up that there's scientific backing for that. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. That's the hypnotic part of what we do.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I was doing something not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. I've, been on lots of summits and stuff. And I don't even remember where it was, but I was saying to someone, I didn't tell that story about my dad having a shotgun to my mom's head. Instead of what I did is I went over and blah, 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 blah. And that's a perfect example of it. It's like, wait, what?
Wait,
what?
You said what? Yeah, what? Wait, what happened?
Oh, no, I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so to your point, I think in that particular case, I would have been better off not even saying that, because if I'm not going to go someplace where someone wants to have, information about that, they're left wondering.
That's what we call an open loop.
Yes, of course.
An open loop is when we're talking, we bring something up and the audience is waiting for you to give us a happy ending or, close that loop.
Yeah.
You could, it depends on how you'd want to use it. Like if you'd like to know more about that story, click here. So you could use it as a call to action, or meet me at the back of the room, and I'll sign one of my books and share a little bit more about that story with you. So you could use it, but the idea is to be very aware of it. If something is outside of our awareness, it's outside of our control. And so now okay, if I bring that up, how can I actually use that to benefit my audience and create deeper connection?
Right. And I think that's important for everyone who's listening to hear that as, that as well. So I want to move along to the body language, right? And I've actually had a body language strategist on this podcast a couple of years ago, a dear friend of mine. But I had her on the podcast because we were talking about what you can do when you enter a room and when you're doing networking. We're not talking about everyone looking at you in this little square box that we call Zoom now. Right. And so since we're all going to be doing this, and even before the pandemic came in, we were all doing this because a lot of us were, having meetings, having podcasts, but particularly for mortgage lenders, I want to talk specifically with them because a lot of realtors still, they meet their clients. And to an extent now, realtors are meeting their clients virtually, but mortgage lenders have always done it. And they will continue to have conversations about finances with their clients via Zoom. So let's talk about the strategies behind how to position ourselves from a body language while we're on these calls to ensure that we have better conversions, better sales, happy clients, we make a connection, etc.
Yes. All of those things. Excellent point. Okay. Well, the first thing to remember is we want to show up in two ways. We want to show up that we're a leader, and we also want to show up in a way that is very connection oriented. So I'm going to give you a couple of techniques that you can use that are very real and authentic and something that people sometimes take for granted. Yeah. The first in leadership is leaders.
Before you do, if you're listening, you should stop listening and go watch the YouTube because you're going to start watching me wiggle in my chair. She starts talking
do this. Don't do that.
I'm out.
Jen's just turned her screen off. I can no longer see her. Exactly.
Okay, go. Hit me.
Okay, here we go. Well, the first thing is that leaders always take up more space vertically and horizontally in both directions. So even though we're in this box, I want to encourage you to sit a little bit taller than you normally would. When we sit, we do tend to kind of concave, shoulders can round. We want to pull them back just a little bit beyond what might feel comfortable.
Yep.
So you're going to come across as being a little taller, and you want to take up more space in your area. And what we see in leaders is that they do use hand gestures that extend beyond the T-Rex. We talked about this in the green room. The T-Rex, when you're elbows are glued to your rib cage and you're only moving from the elbow to the hand. Yes, yes. We want to make sure that we move the elbows and we expand and make a few hand gestures that do extend beyond just this little box. So that's number one, a little taller and take up more space.
So I have a question on that. There are people that, as I'm watching both of us, we have space, we're in the center and we have space to the sides of us, right? And there are a lot of people that are like this in a podcast. So tell us about, you have to watch. You can't be listening to this. But tell me about the people that are talking like this, because I get them a lot.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love it. Okay. So yeah, Jen's showing us what we call a close-up. So if I was a photographer, she's just given us the headshot. It's just from like the clavicle up.
Yeah.
We trust people. So here's the other thing is trust. We tend to trust people a little bit more when we can see more of their body. Why? Because your body is a complete communication system. Naturally, it's really one of your first communication systems. You would, gesture to your mom, pick me up. You might rub, owie, if you hurt yourself. This is our first communication system. One of the best things you can show is your palms. So if you are coming really close into your screen where it's only from, the clavicle bone up, you're eliminating a wonderful opportunity to show more of your natural core, your movement, and to show your palms. That's why, let's say if someone says, stop, halt, the police, we show our palms. I have no weapons. That's what that means. It literally means I'm a friend. I have no weapon. Now we are primed for this. Our reptilian brain, a little small part of our brain, has been primed for this over, 150,000 years of development as humans on the planet. When we were foraging for berries in the forest and we came across another caveman or cavewoman, first thing we would look for, do they have a weapon?
Yeah.
Where are their hands? Are they friend or foe? So in your Zoom box, or if you're on stage or even one-to-one, immediately the first thing to do is to act as if you're giving a air hug. Hi, Jen, so great to see you. We're opening the arms. Yes, and even if you can't see my hands on screen, your brain knows what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah, it knows that my palms are open, my hands are open. So that's something that you can do to gain trust.
I love that.
I recommend this when you go on stage. First thing is open the arms, like a big air hug to the audience. Open your arms to your host if you're doing a podcast. Open your arms to a client if you're on Zoom, and it's so good to see you. Just open. I have a friend that does this. Actually, she has a very successful podcast. She's one of my best friends, and she has this habit, and she does it unconsciously. She's a natural connector. When she sees you, she throws her arms open and says, I'm so happy to see you. Give me a hug. And there's this warmth. You're just overcome by warmth. There's no doubt in your mind that she's happy to see you.
That's awesome.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. So that's
now we have to do virtual hugs, right? I mean, we're doing virtual hugs.
Yes, now virtual hugs. Yes. So we're doing them anyway. That's right. We're doing them anyway.
High fives. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And the virtual hug is so much better than a virtual handshake. It just doesn't quite come across. Yeah, it just doesn't work.
That's
so the third thing that you can do, I got to take off my glasses for this. The third thing that you can do is you want to give an authentic smile, a real smile. So there's two different kinds of smiles. There's the smile that happens from the mouth.
Yes.
And I'm smiling, you can see that. And then there's the smile that happens with your eyes. It's an eye smile. And it's when you get little wrinkles on the sides, your eyes may get a little smaller, your zygomatic muscles, your cheek muscles are puffing up. And that's a true smile, a real smile, when you're really happy to see someone. So the only time it's going to be hard is if you've had a little extra Botox, which, it's going to be a while before I think we get some of that. But you really want to give that genuine smile. Now, here's a thing to watch for on the receiving end. If you're doing a Zoom meeting or you're meeting with a client on Zoom, watch for this. Here's your tip number 4, the unconscious hello. I love the unconscious.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. Yes. It's when someone is genuinely happy to see you and they can't hide it. And they don't even know they're giving you the cue. Here's what it is. Okay. It's a very quick eyebrow flash. Hey. It's just really fast. It's like, hey, Jen, good to see you. And the eyebrows just go up just a little bit. And what's happening there is when we see someone or something that brings us pleasure, we want more of it. So the neuro system in the body opens to receive more. I love to count how many unconscious hellos I get when I go to the grocery store.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and especially now, because guess what? Everybody's wearing a mask.
That's right.
All you can do is read what's going on with their phone. Right?
That's right. That's right. A real true smile, you will be able to detect even if you're wearing a mask. You'll see it in the eyes. And the unconscious hello, you'll see with the eyebrow flash. Yes, but it's not a cheesy one. Let me go to the other extreme. It's not like Joey from Friends who's like, hey, baby, you know, how you doing? I mean, that's a hello too, but it's more intentional. Yeah.
It's like a surprise. It's like a surprise eyebrow look.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's fun to do that and count when you're at the store because it'll tell you how approachable you are. So there is something on a scale. You can go from A to F, approachable, to formal. Formal means you're less approachable, less warm. Approachable is very, as the word is, approachable. And so if you get lots of eyebrow flashes, many unconscious hellos, you're on that day. You're very approachable. Nice. And so it's just knowing, how do I want to be perceived today? Approachable or formal or somewhere in between?
Yeah. And
it's a great way to read that.
Yeah, I love that. And also, you know, with all the virtual stuff that we're on, you know, like I'm going to be in just a few minutes, I'm going to be on a podcast, a webinar with 100 people that are coming that have signed up for this webinar that I'm doing. And now guess what I'm going to be looking at?
Who's giving you that unconscious hello?
All the screen and the body language. You know, and as a coach, I'm on screen with my students a lot, and it's you know, I'm trying to read them. You know, where's their energy level? Where are they at? You know, are they ready to receive information? Do they feel overwhelmed? Are they in the game? Are they ready to go? They have their notes, or are they just
leaning forward, leaning back? Yes.
Yeah, yes, I know we could probably go, in 1,000 rabbit holes for that. Okay, do you have any? Was it just four tips, or did you have 5?
If I had a 5th one, it would actually be around your emotions.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people, they get ready for their Zoom meeting. They've got their lights on. They've got a little drink with them. Yep. They've turned off their phone. So they're preparing their external environment. Oh. Are you preparing your internal environment? Are you turning on you? Because if you're not turned on, you're not going to turn anyone else on. And I'm talking about enthusiasm, passion for your message. Now, there are 4 characteristics of influence. You're going to want to write these down. Okay. If you can turn these on in yourself, you will become highly influential and you will have the characteristics of leadership. But not just formal leadership. I mean like real leadership where people want what you got. Okay,
so here's a 4. You're perceived as the expert too. Yeah.
That's right.
And it's easier. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. And I would ask you to also measure, are you seeing this just for fun in Jen and myself? Right? So do a little test. Here we go. Okay. So here's number 1. Number 1 is curiosity.
Yeah.
Curiosity to inquire, to ask questions, to be curious about somebody else. Have you ever done this? What do you think about that? And to be not just about yourself, but to be about others. So curiosity leads to wisdom. It leads to connection as you get to know each other. Curiosity is number 1. Are you curious? Or are you just sitting back and letting other people
and that body language. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, where they're like, or I'm bored. Yes, exactly.
Right.
Number 2 is playfulness.
Right.
Playfulness, even as an expert, especially as an expert, if you are playful, in your delivery of your information, your content, or whatever it is you're sharing, it actually lights up. Research shows playfulness will light up more of your brain so that it lights up like a Christmas tree, which then will fire the mirror neurons in the person that you're even talking with on a virtual stage like this. Mm-hmm. So if we're more lit up in our mirror neurons, then we're more engaged. So
yep.
this is
and we're receiving more information too. We're retaining the information that we're receiving. Yeah,
that's right. You're so smart. That's right. You got that.
I never learned it. I just kind of know it. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And some of this may seem like common sense, but it's not common practice.
No. Yeah.
There's a difference.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Number three is having the quality of resilience or persistence, not giving up. And in this time, in this climate, with everything that's going on, there's a tendency for people to feel beaten down, or should I keep going? And so we talk about pivoting, don't stop, pivot, create a bridge, find new ways to connect with clients, to create income. So that resilience and that persistence, we admire that in people. So that's number three.
Okay.
Number four is my favorite. Number four is being victorious. Now let me define what that means.
Okay.
Being victorious means that you act as if you've won the race even before you start. You're like, I got this. I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be playful. I'm going to be curious, and I'm going to keep going. And in that sense, you're victorious. Yeah. And in my story, I was victorious. I didn't give up. I didn't throw in the towel. I didn't say, okay, well, I guess I'm just, going to succumb to this, and I'm going to be more for my daughter and continue. Be victorious. When people see that in your story, in your body language, it transmutes. Now, so let's talk about how do you transmute or share that you're victorious in your body language. There's an interesting study that was done that people, when they feel victorious, let's say they just won a race, they typically throw their hands up and their head up, like a
when
V.
When they run through a ribbon.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And even people that are blind do it. There's a sense of reaching up and throwing your hands up. So if you come to a point in your story where you're victorious or you want to communicate victory, you can have those hands up. And again, you're showing leadership. You're taking up more space, both vertically and horizontally. So that's a way to communicate that you're victorious.
Victorious. And so what I did was,
yes.
No, I love it. I love it. And this is so perfect right now, in this pandemic, because what I've been teaching and I've been using sort of the victim versus, the victor, right? Don't be the victim, be the victor. And don't be a worrier, be a warrior. Right. And so that's what brings to mind the victorious and the resilience, right?
Yes.
Be a true warrior. Don't give up. This is okay. And I think people are attracted to that because they want to be that person. That's why we love movies where, everything's going great and then it's awful and then it's great again, right? Because yay, we want to share in that victory. And movies that don't end that way, we walk out going, that was a
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like Gladiator. Gladiator was such a movie of the warrior and beaten down and not giving up. And beautiful movie of success in that arena of, being victorious and not giving up. Yeah, we all have that. And those movies that model our own life. Many of us are going through ups and downs right now. And what we know for sure about the human spirit is we are designed to thrive.
Yeah.
We will find a way.
I love that.
Yes.
Even in your story reminds me of the story with Meg Ryan where she was an alcoholic, and who else played in that movie? One of the brothers in the business and stuff. That kind of reminds me of that movie. And she was victorious on the end, which was really good. I'm just saying that, that story took me to another story so I could relate even more, and I thought that was really fantastic. So I have a last question for you. What is motivating you right now? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you reading books? And if you are, what are you doing? What are you doing to stay motivated? Not because of the pandemic, but just generally. What motivates Holley?
I actually love to learn of what other people are doing in my industry, in the area of storytelling and body language, to stay current, to make sure that I'm sharing information that might be a little different than other people. And I do love podcasts. Absolutely. One of my favorites is Build Your Tribe by Chalene Johnson. She does a quick tip Tuesday. In just 15 minutes, you can get some information on how to share what you do on social media. So those are some of my favorites. And continuing to ask my clients, what do you need now? And how can I create that for you? How can I step up? And to never assume that I know what they need, but to always be curious, always be asking, because our climate's always changing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super, super important, because especially in real estate and mortgages, we have a tendency to think that we know it's obvious. The problem is I need a new house. The problem is I need money because I don't have all the cash to pay for it. Right?
Yeah.
So we get that. But it's finding the deeper sense, to get out of the transaction and get into something that, again, attracts clients, and you can grow your business even more.
Yeah.
So you have a gift for everybody, and we'll have that link in the episode here. But what is the gift?
Yes. The gift is I have compiled 15 of the hottest hand gestures that you can use for mating, dating, relating, business, fun, and profit. Awesome. Wherever there's a human, you can use these hand gestures. Yeah, I've said that a few times. Maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also 5 hand gestures to never use. Wow. So I've positioned it so that you're moving towards something that will allow you to really have some deep connection and have fun, but you're also moving away from a few mistakes that you may be making that you don't even realize that you're making.
Yeah. And gosh, it's just so powerful. I mean, you guys that are listening, if you've been listening for a long time, you know me, I love learn, right? I love pulling stuff in and learning it. And, and this will make my reticular activator go off all week long. My reticular activator is going to be going off about.
You're going to be searching and watching for it. Yeah.
Watching people and watching things and seeing, all of this. And I hope that I can make it a habit. That's the key thing, is making this a habit, is saying, okay, just don't, and I know one of the things that you talk about, we won't share it. We're going to keep it all a secret. But one of the things, that my husband does, it drives me nuts, is one of the mistakes. And I corrected myself of that years ago, because I couldn't stand it. My mom used to do it to me. Is why she used to yell at me and do it. That's a whole story right there. But she used to do that to me. And because of it, I'm very taken back by it. Anybody who does this one gesture, I just see them as a negative authority figure. And I won't.
That's right. Sometimes we can use body language thinking that it's a leadership body language, when in fact it's creating pushback. That's what we call pushback. Like pure authoritarian leadership doesn't create a following, it creates pushback. So you're absolutely right. Yeah. So much more good stuff we could go into.
Oh, I know. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, Holley, and they want you to help them write a story, or they want you to, help them with body language, or speak at their company or their company sales rally, or a conference that they know this would be powerful for, how do they get a hold of you? What is the best way?
It would be an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to support you, your team, or your company with storytelling as well as body language on all of life stages. And you can find me at my name, hollymignosi.com, and that's Holley with an EY. But I also have a Facebook group. If you want to connect with me, ask me some questions. And I have hours of binge-worthy content where you can start right now on boosting your charisma, your leadership, your influence, and your storytelling. And that is Shine on Stage. And that's my Facebook group, Shine on Stage.
And I love that Facebook group. I'm in that group. I am in that group.
Thank you.
And I've been in that group for almost a year now since
we met.
Yeah, I've been in that group. So I love it. I've just, taken little tips and tidbits. It's so hard as a speaker because we learn so many things from so many different people that literally we could walk on the stage and be a robot. I have to do this. I have to do that. I can't do this. I have to do this. I have to do. And so you take these little pieces and you make them, a small habit, and then you get another piece and you make it a habit so that you can try to improve everything about what you're doing. And I'm saying this in the context of meeting with a client, who is deathly afraid of this whole process of buying a house, right? Meeting with someone who's afraid of mortgages and what's going to happen and what if I lose my job. All of these things are you being on that stage and shining, just as Holley is saying that. So again, Holley, thank you so much for being with us today. I really, really appreciate. Oh, yeah, same. That's a gesture, by the way, these days. By the way, you have to watch the video to know what we're doing.
We did something. You got to watch to know.
Yeah, you got to go to the YouTube. But no, I see you. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And everybody, listen, if you want to level yourself up and move up and enhance what you're doing, take everything that we're giving you in this podcast and put it into play. That's what I'm all about. It's all about the action. And I just want to say thank you again for listening to us. And please don't forget to give us a great rating and give us a review. And as always, if there's a topic that you'd like to have discussed that hasn't been discussed on this podcast over the last 5.5 years, reach out to me. My link is in the bottom as well, JenDuPlessis.com. And I will be happy to explore that topic for this podcast. So again, Holley, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much. You're an amazing host, and thank you so much for making me feel so welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You are welcome. Well, we'll catch you next time on Mortgage Lending Mastery.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Be sure to subscribe to hear more sales tips, ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you with your personal and professional growth to multiply your results in record time. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Wanting more beyond the podcast? Join our Mortgage Lending Mastery membership community, where you will find extended interviews with our favorite guests, weekly training, tips, and insider secrets, fireside chats with Jen, free content, meet, share, and collaborate with other members, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about this exclusive content. Mortgage Lending Mastery is an Industry Syndicate charter podcast. Industry Syndicate is the first podcast network specifically for the mortgage and real estate industries. Get the Industry Syndicate app in the App Store or Google Play today.